Hi, it's Bee with Crafting Daily Dose, and today I have an alternative for you made from the September 2022 paper pumpkin kit called Spooky Treats. Now this kit was originally designed to create really cute treat boxes, but today we're going to use some of the supplies to make a flashlight card. If you haven't seen these before, we're basically stamping images that are hard to see against the background until you use a flashlight wand to highlight the areas that you want to see. You're in for a treat if you want to learn how to make this trick. Here are the supplies for this project. Now from the kit, I'll be making good use of that stamp set, plus I'll be using the adhesive back stars and the tear and tape. I'm also going to be using this circle die cut here. And then I've brought in some additional cardstock and other supplies. So this is a piece of basic black cardstock that starts out as 4 1/4 inches by 11 inches. It's been scored halfway at 5 1/2 inches. And then I've cut out this window here. Now for this, I used the second largest of the stitched rectangle dies. If you want to cut it out with your trimmer instead, then I have those directions on the blog. This opening here is approximately 3 3/8 of an inch by 4 3/4 of an inch, because that's the size of the second largest stitched rectangle die. That leaves us a border of about 3/8 of an inch all the way around, just for reference. Next, I have 2 strips of basic black cardstock. Each one is 3/4 of an inch across by 5 1/2 inches in height. We're going to end up gluing these together so it will be extra strong, and we'll trim off any excess. Next, this piece of basic white cardstock is 3 3/4 of an inch by 5 inches. This is going to be for the message panel on the back. Then I have a piece of window sheet. This is clear acetate. It just has a piece of tissue paper on it to protect it and so that you can see it a little bit better. But this is going to be 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. I'm using some of the glitter washi tape. This comes in a pack of 4, and there is black, Highland Heather, which is this one, Old Olive, and Pumpkin Pie. They're all great Halloween colors, so you can use any that you would like. I'm going to make a little notch at the bottom, and for that I'm using a 1/2 inch circle punch. This is retired, but you can use any round punch or small circle or oval die that's in your stash. It's also fine to leave off the finger notch as well. Now I'm going to be stamping on the window sheet, so for that I want to use StazOn ink. This is the solvent ink that you want to use when your surface is non-porous, like that window sheet is. Okay, we've got our supplies, so now we can get started. Let's begin by stamping the message panel for the back. I'm using regular Memento Tuxedo black ink here, but you could also use the StazOn to make it more convenient if you already have it out. If you want to make it more colorful, you can use the Orchid Oasis ink that came with the kit. Next, I'll stamp up the window sheet, and I'm going to leave the tissue paper behind it so that it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. And I'm also going to move it over so that we don't have as much glare from my light. Now remember, this is going to be StazOn ink, and when you're using it on this surface, it can be a little bit slippery. So you'll want to figure out where you want the stamp and sort of hover over that space and then press down firmly. Try not to wiggle it around because it might slide on you and smear. I'm not stamping too close to the edge because some of that will be covered up by that frame that's on the front of the card. Now when you use StazOn ink, there's a good chance that it will stain your stamp, but don't worry because it's not going to affect the performance of your stamp. You can use a StazOn ink cleaner, but really I just leave it alone unless it gets really bad and it's hard for me to see. Otherwise, it's not a problem. Now, if you mess up and have a little smearing like I did there, don't worry because you can use some rubbing alcohol to wipe that off. There may be just a little bit of a haze when you do that, but it's not going to be noticeable in the final card. If you need to do any touch-ups with the stamping, use your black blends marker or another black permanent marker. And now we're ready to assemble. We'll start by adhering the message panel on the back. I'm using Stampin' Seal here, but you can use any other adhesive. I'm going to go ahead and place tearing tape all the way around this window. Now it's easiest to start on one end and sort of hold that in place and then stretch out your tape and find that final destination so that it's straight. And then press down those middle sections. So once again, start on the end, kind of hold it in place, find where you want it to go, and then start to press it down. That's a lot easier than trying to press and keep it straight as you go along. I'm using my Take Your Pick tool to help take off the backings, but I'm only just getting them started. Now this is that stamped window sheet, and since we're working on the back side of the window, we want to make sure that we've got this turned face down, otherwise the words are going to read in the wrong direction. So I'm just going to center this over my opening. And because the backing is only partially taken off of my tearing tape, I have the chance to make any adjustments because it's not all stuck down quite yet. One of my ghosts is a little too close to the edge there, so I'm going to go ahead and reposition this. And because I only partially removed the backing, this is a lot easier to do than if everything had been stuck down all at once. Now I'll flip it over to add the washi tape for decoration. I'm going to do the same thing that I had done with the tearing tape. So I'm going to press it down at one end, unroll it, and then find where I want it to end up, and then go back and press down the middle. Now I'm going to find the center of this edge. This is 4 1/4 inches across, so halfway would be 2 1/8. You can use a ruler. I'm going to be using the measurements that are on the edge of my grid paper, and unfortunately though, that's going to be off screen for you. I'm bringing in my punch to create that notch, or again, you can use a die or just leave it off. I'm also punching through the window sheet here, so I'm pressing pretty firmly. Once I have that, I'll flip it to the back, and I'm going to put tear and tape, this time on the back of the window sheet, and I only have to do it along the sides. Before I seal this up, I'm going to use my fingers to check for any stray adhesive, any sticky spots, and I've got plenty down here at the bottom. At this point, I can either keep just touching it with my fingers until it's not sticky anymore, or if you've got a bag of that anti-static powder that you use for heat embossing, you can go ahead and put it on here. And remember, you want to be doing this before you remove the backing from the new tear and tape. We want to make sure that that's not sticky, otherwise the wand is going to get stuck in those areas later. I'm just checking it once again, and that's nice and smooth and not at all sticky. So now I can go ahead and take this off and seal it down. I'll remove the backing from the side with the crease first, and then I'll work my way down. Make sure that you burnish everything down well. To assemble the flashlight wand, you're just going to glue together those two strips of basic black cardstock and then glue the die cut on top. Once your flashlight wand has been completed, you can go ahead and insert it into the bottom of the card. And then you're going to push it in as far as it can go, and then you'll trim it off here. I actually like to trim it off a little bit past this point so that I know that there's a little bit left over. I don't want the wand to get stuck inside of the card. And there is some leeway in your envelope for the total height of this to be a little bit more than 5.5 inches. I actually have an envelope here so that we can test it, and you can see that I've stamped the ghost onto there and a few ghosts and a sentiment here on the back. Now I've decorated this with the adhesive stars, but if you're planning to mail this, you'd want to stamp the stars instead, because you don't want these embellishments to get stuck in a postal machine. I'm going to go ahead and test to make sure that this is going to fit. From the outside, it looks like it's going to be okay, but let's go ahead and put it in. A little tight, so I'm going to trim it a little bit more. Okay, that fits. Now I'll pull this back out, and I'm going to go ahead and wrap a little bit of washi along the bottom here just for decoration. So I'm starting from the back here. I'm going to wrap it around a couple of times and then end up again on the back. And I'll add adhesive stars to the back of the message panel as well. And there is our finished card. Once that flashlight wand is in place, it gives contrast to set off the black ink against the black background so that we can spotlight the different images that we stamped, and it's really fun to play with. Plus there's room to write a message on the back. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you've enjoyed this dose of creativity. If you get a chance to try out the project, I would love to see it, so share it in my Facebook group or tag me if you're sharing elsewhere. If you're interested in Paper Pumpkin but don't yet have a demonstrator, you can find the subscription link as well as all of my other links in the description box below. I look forward to crafting with you again next time, and until then, have a beautiful day.